Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Visual Novel Book Club. I'm your pal, Slowbeef. We have the usual suspects here, of course. That is DVAC Ty Tuesday, Dave/Bullhoko, and Jim. So, boom. Without further ado, Takeshi's route. Day one. Let's do this. What's up?
Oh, boy. A lot of stuff it changed that was important.
I think that's the most interesting part of this is I really thought, like, this was going to be just, okay, kind of a retread of what happened, and it totally wasn't. I have all new theories. But yeah, I mean, yeah, if we want to start... First of all, I started... So I don't know if anybody else did this. I started with a new game and actually redid the choices from the beginning, but picked different things.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that also.
Yep, same here.
Yeah, the game it actually shows highlighted what you've chosen and what you haven't.
Yeah. And also, if you know, I don't know if anyone else did this. If you tried to do like skip text, it'll actually only skip there's a setting for this, and it's defaulted to. It'll only skip whatever you've read, meaning that like if you decide to try a different choice or something got affected down the line, it won't skip past anything that you haven't seen before. Like, it'll actually stop skipping and go back to normal text.
That explains why the skip wasn't working the first time I tried it.
Yeah, if you're in totally new territory, you can't skip. Again, it's a setting. If you want, you can go in, like, in the right-click menu and say, it'll, like, say, like, skip only things you've read or skip everything, you know?
For your AGDQ run of ever 17, yeah.
Exactly, right, yeah.
So in the beginning, so I think probably all of us, or most of us, chose to not listen to the joke then.
Yeah.
And it did not, in fact, reveal that Sora is an RSD, as that implied in the other route. And in fact, it's torturous how unaware Takeshi is that Sora is an RSD.
Oh man, they draw that out like you would not believe.
So that was, I was kind of disappointed about that. I was like, oh my god, I thought this would change something and it didn't at all.
Do you know, actually, though, that is an important choice, listening to the joke or not.
Well, I guess we'll see in a minute, because of who ends up in the thing.
No.
No.
Actually, no. One thing I did notice, by the way, all the choices, in fact, are Takeshi's before the big whose route you want to take, but, like, interestingly enough, if you listen to the joke, nothing happens. If you listen to the explanation, you get a Sora point.
Oh, well,
nice.
Good. Nice.
Yeah.
See, this means a lot, because like what I was thinking, like when I went into this route, was that, okay, listen, we had all decided we were going to go with the romancing Sora option, and like all I was thinking was going in was, you probably just pay attention to her. Like, ignore the other girls and pay attention to her. That's probably going to work out well. So that was the first thing, the first reason why I went with that.
Yeah. So far, I mean, not to get too far ahead, but I feel like a lot of the choices to get the Sora route seem fairly obvious, Like, there's no tricks here, per se. Just except for maybe that first choice actually being an impactful one, but,
But yeah, just like, either do you pay attention to Sora or make her feel better, or do you not?
Yeah, pretty much. And if you are curious, by the way, so in the elevator with Tsugumi, by the way, the choice of telling you about the Tanuki punching you is not important, but the one where you're in the elevator with Tsugumi is important. I think... What did I do?
Last time we were like, what's your deal? And so I had Takeshi apologize because Takeshi is so awful in Kids Route. I was like, this is it. I'm going to redeem Takeshi. I'm going to force him to be nice at all times.
Yeah, I decided to wild card, jump out of the back of the van, and romance Tsugumi, so I apologize.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
You were, alright, you were the one who was advocating, we gotta go the Sora.
Yeah,
but,
and afterwards I was like, okay, everybody, we're not gonna tell Slowbeef and see if he doesn't go for it, and then we're gonna leave him out. No, I wild carded, jumped out of the back of the van, I'm going Tsugumi route.
Oh my god.
It's funny, the game is...
Ty bangs fists on table, fuck the robot Tuesday has reneged.
Hey, I have a theory that Tsugumi is a robot, therefore, I'm still in the right.
We don't know how much of a choice we really have.
Yeah. That lasted right until he realized he's a robot, and he's like, wait, there are two robots boy can fuck? Oh, yeah.
One of them is Tsundere.
You gotta pick the robot girlfriend with higher stats, and it's very clearly Tsugumi.
One of them doesn't even have a corporeal form. I mean, come on.
If you are curious about the elevator, by the way, the elevator is an impactful choice. If you decide to keep quiet, you get no points. If you apologize, you get 1 Tsugumi point. But if you ask, well, who are you? You get 2 Tsugumi points.
Really?
Oh, she likes it.
I would have
that way,
thought.
yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
She's got a thing with questions.
I haven't gone through all of these. Tsugumi seems like kind of, I don't know, like half counterintuitive. Like there's stuff where you're like, wait, that would get you points with Tsugumi, but then other things you're like, yeah, that makes sense. It's pretty tough.
Okay. I'm probably gonna die in a fire then at the end.
Yeah, don't be nice to Tsugumi and expect to get Tsugumi points.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so obviously the beginning is pretty much unchanged, and then we did Takeshi's route, so...
Well, one thing about when you make that decision point, now, having gone through that route, it's when Kid throws himself into the water, it describes that he's overwhelmed with blue, and it specifically says deep blue. And now we know Tief Blau is that whatever disease that killed Yu's parents.
It's funny, I kind of missed that because I sort of was skipping through it, but now that you say it, I was actually thinking the shit that was in the capsule when he has that dream of the blue-black stuff overtaking him.
It's got to be the same idea.
Right, yeah, totally.
So Takeshi's narration, we say, I've got to find my friends, and we're Takeshi. Takeshi's narration is green.
That's right.
It's also, is it always in the first person? When it switches over to him, it's in the first person, and Kid's was not. Was it? Was it always in the first person? I don't know. I guess Takeshi says I a lot more than Kid does.
I
thought Kid's was in first person for some reason, but
Kid,
now that you're...
It seems like Kid doesn't have a good sense of self, so maybe that's a narrative choice.
No, he's first person. He's so Kid, somewhere I felt like I knew her.
Kid then uses a lot Takeshi says I did this versus Kid's I guess is more this observing this was that.
He uses a lot.
I'm thinking so much talking about himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the Kid is a little bit more dramatic than Takeshi is, a little bit more descriptive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I do have a little more of an appreciation for Takeshi in a way. He's still kind of
He's an idiot on a mission, and I can respect that.
Yeah, he does have a lot. When we know his internal state, he's thinking a lot more. He's right away suspicious that so him and Tsugumi bust out of the elevator easily, and I think that's also interesting. It's Takeshi and Tsugumi are basically adults, and they seem a lot more competent at navigating things than when we were Yu and Kid.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the very beginning, Takeshi, when they walk around the complex before they meet up with the others, and he says, "We felt like we were taking a route someone had set up for us." So Takeshi is suspicious right off the bat.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Which is more credit than I'd originally given him, honestly. So
for sure.
So I'm trying to see
the
what
sandwich
happens.
place.
It
has.
Yeah, don't skip over the big red herring there.
It has. Well, yeah, that's what kind of sandwiches it has.
What's
Red
that?
herring tuna sandwiches.
What?
Tuna sandwiches instead of chicken sandwiches. We must be in an alternate timeline.
Game is messing with my head.
Sorry, I was looking for something here because, what's funny is I was just looking through, because I like to look through the Let's Play as we do this too, just to see about things. And I noticed the chicken sandwich place has a little thing on the bottom that says Untersee Boots, which I guess is underwater boat or submarine. And I don't remember if that was on Kid's route or I just missed it all this time.
I don't think so, because it must not have, because we paid a lot of attention to that. We were.
That's so
Yeah.
That's so weird. Wait a minute, really? Holy shit! Hold on, I have to fucking find a picture of this goddamn.
Hold the phone here.
I have to find a picture of this chicken sandwich thing. God damn it!
There's money in the chicken stand, dude. It all comes back.
That's kind of buried in the corner, though. I could see us missing that in the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It can't.
I like that it's a red herring sandwich, though.
Oh,
It is perfect.
Oh, wait for it.
It is. It is in Kids Route. Yeah. Okay.
Damn.
Okay. Let's see.
So anyway, sorry,
that's
where were
tuna
we?
sandwiches like one time, and then later it has chicken sandwiches.
Right.
I don't know.
But yeah, so they get where were we in the? I think I might be distracted.
They
So we were
look around. Oh, they are walking around before the first floor collapses. So
Right, yeah.
they're on the first floor, and they go to the emergency hatch, and it doesn't open.
That's right. And then they're in some place that's like that has like glass kind of walls and like the fish outside.
An aquarium. They found an aquarium. The aquarium was on the first floor.
As Takeshi is walking around too, I think it's like kind of a good point. He's like starting to freak out a little bit. Like he definitely is not okay with this. Like he's trying to act cool for a bit. He's like, "Hi everyone, it's a really good joke. Why is everyone not here? What is going on? Where is everybody?" The joke. It's a
You can
good
come
joke.
out now, guys.
You can come out. And Tsugumi's just looking at him like, "Shut up."
Yep.
But then apparently, so then the windows actually crash in and the water's like starts flooding in, and Tsugumi
actually,
Oh,
before that happens, Sora shows up and tells them to get lost. She's like, "Escape! You need to get out of here." And then she gets like, as she says this, she starts like muttering under her breath, "Level Delta Tiefblau," which is
So
just
level
weird as hell.
Delta, the fourth level, Tiefblau, Deep Blue, the whole thing. Like right off the here it is. That's right there. Sora. I feel like she's acknowledging that there's a fourth level right there.
Yep.
Huh. I know I read a little ahead and it doesn't have anything to do with this, but I'm just wondering now if this whole thing was kind of to like that there is some sort of Tiefblau outbreak and that's why they sort of staged this whole thing.
They're quarantining it. Like shit went bad, and so it can't escape through water or something. So they're just trying to flood it down.
Yeah.
So then, what is Tiefblau? Like, are the bodies past the Himmeldor? They have Tiefblau, and like they're in some sort of stasis because they have that, or something like that.
Or does
I don't know.
Tiefblau kill you really fast, and these are people who are developing antibodies, and they gotta like quarantine them for a while so they're sure they're not developing it?
Or
Maybe.
it could be because in our previous game we learned that Tiefblau was like a disease that they had eradicated. But like with other diseases, there are rumors that people keep them around just in case you might need some plague or something.
Yeah, you mean like a pharmaceutical company would do?
Yeah, like a pharmaceutical company would do.
Yep. And is that then when
Then the glass explodes and
right
everything,
and then
Tsugumi gets to be really cool.
yeah, and she like totally like ninja dashes and grabs Takeshi and like runs out into the next room or something like that, I think.
Yeah, and he
Yeah,
mentions
she-
that the strength is like totally inhuman. Like she just grabs him and rips him away, and he's a big boy, and she just fucking drags him at full speed, sprinting through everything. And he even mentions there, he's like, it seemed like cyborg strength or something. It made no sense.
And she also opens an air vent. So Sora's like trying to tell them where to go, and Tsugumi's like, I know where to go. And she busts open an air vent and jumps down to the lower floor. And then the water drains down there, and that's how they get to the second level and end up with everybody else. And then Sora is there, and she apologizes. And and then we get basically like who to blame for the flooding, because she's like, oh, it was my responsibility, I'm sorry. And you can either be like, yeah, Sora, or you can be like, it's not your fault.
Way to go, dummy.
So the way you can phrase it is, that's right, the person is in charge is whose fault it is, meaning Sora, right? Yeah, it's not your fault. And you also get, that's not important right now. if you are curious, saying that, yeah, it's your fault or whatever nets you no points. Saying it's not your fault gets you 2 Sora points. And saying it's not important right now actually gets you a Sugumi and a Sora point.
Good, got one of each.
Yep.
Nice. I said it's not your fault because
Damn, I need to restart. I need to min-max my Sora Sugumi points.
And then they walk and meet up with the rest of the group, which is made up of who?
Which is made up, of course, of you, Kid,
Sora, Sugumi,
and Coco.
What?
Yeah, so this is, I had that little internal, like, double take kind of thing there, but yeah, Coco is here, and everyone can see her, and she's just, like, a normal part of the party.
Mayo is not here.
Mayo is not here, nowhere to be found. So this is kind of the first clue that something weird is going on between Takeshi.
Already had his moment at this point, or was that a bit later?
What do you mean his moment?
He has a moment where he sees a girl who...
no, that's later.
That's later? Okay.
That's later,
so he acknowledges Coco first, and then later on we get that whole weird-ass thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Yep, that's later.
So they meet up, and you already, and Yu's personality is already different. So they all introduce themselves, and you and Sora go to the control room together, calmly. There is no you banging on the computer. There is no, like, you know, in the last run, you and Mayo were in there, and they were like, oh, what's going on? And then Sora appeared. Like, everything's fine. And you seemed a lot more, like, pleasant and bubbly and positive.
Mm-hmm.
And
nope.
Coco's there, and Coco is like a child, but she's also supposed to be like 15, but she acts like she's 4.
Yeah, and it's clearly voiced that way too. Like, this isn't like she's a big disparity between her voices and the other.
Yeah.
Oh, and she has Pipi.
She has a dog. The dog's here.
Pipi's the only reason I'm still in this game right now. It's because that dog rules. Dog's real cool.
Did also when did they meet up in the control room and they start doing like the little here's the situation, the first floor is flooded kind of thing, and then everyone starts introducing each other. And the only reason I'm like kind of jumping there is because I just want to mention Yu tells you her full name much earlier this time around, it seems like.
Right away.
And did anybody notice?
It's not the same.
That's right.
Oh, I did not notice.
Yeah, it's Yubisei Haru Kana, which is the fall one, right? Which in Kids Route it was Aki, I think, which was autumn. Or wait, Haru's spring, right?
Spring, Haru's spring, Aki's fall. So
yeah. But like, and the kid even thought like, what if you change that to Haru, which I thought was random as shit. But then Takeshi's Route, all of a sudden, it's this new, it's like a different named you. So
there it is.
I have all new theories now.
And then
about
Coco says, "Well, can I call you Nakyu?" Which is just like what Mayo called you.
Yeah.
And she called her Nakyu with no explanation. And you assume, it's because they went to school together. But Coco specifically says, "Can I call you Nakyu?"
Yeah, I don't get the Nakyu thing at all, honestly.
Well, I mean,
but, like,
we have
Tanaka
one.
Nakyu.
Yeah, and we have one that exists in one timeline and one that doesn't in the other. You know, it seems like obviously there's a thing going there, especially with we had the scene where Kid runs in and grabs Coco, and then it's actually Mayo, so it makes sense to a certain extent. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense in a narrative standpoint.
Right. So, let's see here. What then?
Takeshi and Sugumi introduce themselves, and then you get a dialogue choice of what to say to Sugumi.
Right, which is like, thanks for helping me back there, what are you mad about, I think, right?
Yeah, and I feel like asking her what she's mad about is extremely counterproductive, and I wanted Takeshi to be a nice boy for once, so I said thank you for helping me.
It actually looks like that one doesn't matter.
Alright. Well, and then Sugumi doesn't even say anything anyway. She's like, I did it out of necessity. You were an obstacle.
You were in my way, which is why I dragged you behind me.
So then
but like,
Sora. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sora introduces herself and says she's the assistant chief, and then there's another dialogue option of where you can like question her or not.
Right. Like, you can be like, oh, assistant chief, huh? Or he says, I thought that was something else, which is a kind of odd phrasing in the. I feel like it's a translation error or something, but it sounds more like he's supposed to be like, I thought somebody else was the assistant. You know what I mean? Or like, like you say, it was doubtful.
Or like he's being really sexist, like, wait a second, you're a lady.
Let me speak to your boss.
Oh, assistant chief. Okay, no.
Do you mean assistant to the chief?
Right, yeah. But,
Yeah, so I took it as, like, the first one was, like, you're the one?
Yeah.
And then the second one, I chose the second one. I thought that was something else, because I took it as, like, I thought that job title, like, meant something else. Because you seem like you're a tour guide. You know?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's a little unclear, because, yeah, like you say, assistant chief, huh? Could be also, like, And
then the other choice is just like, wow, that's pretty high up, isn't it? And then she's just like, well, I'm only the assistant, so, not really.
If you say, apparently saying assistant chief, huh? Gets you a Sora point.
Ooh. Yeah, cash it.
Yep.
Well, if you say, I thought that was something else, he doesn't say anything to her and just kind of, like, keeps his suspicions to himself, I guess. Because he's suspicious of her immediately, and it's really painful because he's just like, weird, why doesn't she want to eat? Why doesn't she want to, like, why doesn't she want to touch anything? And it's like, oh my god. It's frustrating.
Wow, her clothes aren't wet even though we just fell in a bunch of water.
Let's not ask about that.
Yeah. And it's like, even if we had taken Takeshi's side first, I kind of get the feeling we would have been frustrated with this. Like, well, hold on a second, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. It's like kind of interesting too to look at this and wonder like how this would have played out playing his kid. Like, who the hell's and all that. But
what would alternate universe us say?
Right. Let's see here. Oh, and then, of course, Kid goes like, I'm having amnesia. And then just kind of out of the clear blue sky, we get this weird, like, text dump about amnesia.
Yeah, all the different types that there are.
Yeah, it's like, here's a kind. You can go forwards, you can go backwards. This one hits young people with stress the most. And I was like, that's alcohol. But yes, I still, like, I think I know where those cases actually come from. But
I didn't understand too, is that supposed to be like Takeshi thinking to himself, like, man, the good thing I know a lot about amnesia, such as retrograde, or what? It just, like, nobody's saying it to anyone.
I think that is kind of like the muse of the game, because when we get to that screen, it's usually just like a recap of some information, and it's usually, like in the previous game, it was all about, how could this pressure be doing this, what's decompression sickness, etc., etc., and here it's like all the different kinds of amnesia, just like technical stuff.
Yeah, but that said, like, even in the previous route, when you had these sections where it would show, like, the ocean and you'd have, like, blocks of text kind of, that was clearly Kid, I at least read it as, like, Kid thinking kind of out loud or trying to summarize it, like, here are the only possibilities that we had. Use father was this, B, whatever. I think this is maybe just awkwardly written. I can only imagine this must be Takeshi's, like, inner monologue somehow or something,
Or it's just skipping. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just saying, it just seems like something, like you said, it was just an awkward presentation. It seems as something they wanted to get in there, and we're like, we can't work this in the dialogue. We're just gonna get it. We're just gonna dump it in.
It's either that or Takeshi is extremely good at playing dumb.
We have Sora, like, from the previous path, like, somebody already wrote dialogue of Sora explaining amnesia, and that is not included in this one, which is interesting, I think. Like, is that supposed to be a summary of Sora explaining it, or is there a reason why nobody knows about it and it's an aside in this one, but in the other route, Sora knows about amnesia and is like, this is how amnesia works.
You know what? I think you might be onto something there, because it gives all kind of different possibilities. While some of it's brought on by trauma, or some of it's brought on by blunt force, some of it is like complete life, or some of it is, just only certain events. And I think that might be, in case you picked this route first, to get you interested in Kid and being like, oh, why does he have amnesia? Maybe he has a really tragic past, or maybe he hit his head. Maybe he can't, make new memories or what have you.
And he does seem to do all of those things. Also,
he's got all the amnesias. He's like, oh, I got everything all in here at once.
he's barely making it.
Yeah, later on, it almost frustrated me because I was like, oh, great. So we have the world's most unreliable narrator for the first, 5 episodes of Visual Novel Book Club was all through some kid who can't remember what a chicken Sammy is called. Great.
I keep forgetting your name. Oh, forgot it again.
Like in this one, it's even worse. He can't even remember that he's in a theme park and that everything's gone down. Like at a later point, he says, where am I? Why is everything? Why are all the lights off?
Here? Why can't I remember?
Oh yeah, because they're like, you're in Lemieux, and he's like, what? Yeah.
I literally forgot that word halfway through.
We got a little bit before that, but it's coming up. Let's see, after we get that nice long aside about amnesia types, everybody goes to get some drinks at the Chicken Sando stando, and they I don't think they ever got drinks in the other one, so I was like, well, there's drinks there. I think they talk about the pressure or something like that also.
Right.
Later. Oh no, that was later. Okay. They go over the flooding timeline again. And also, the way that the flooding is explained in this is I felt was much more informative and told everything in order right away versus Kids' Route, where we, didn't know that much, as much about it. It just lays it all out. This happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened, and now it's flooded. Right off the bat.
That's right.
So that was good. I feel like in Takeshi's Route, we have much more of a deeper understanding of what happened and what's going on right away.
It seems like we get to the flooding a lot quicker too.
Yeah, it does feel shorter. In general.
Well, the thing is with the Kids' Route too is we had a hold up in that he spent a lot of time with you, kind of going around there seemed like there was a lot more of I don't know what's going on here before they run into Takeshi, etc. And then we're kind of let in. Here it's just right off the bat, you're with Tsugumi very briefly and with Sora pretty much right away, and then you meet up with everyone right there, Mm-hmm. It seems like things move at a faster clip here. So
let's see. So they all hang out and for a while, and Yu is trying to be very positive. She's like, okay, everybody, we're gonna make it through, and reminds me of a Girl Scout. Which is also much more appropriate for the age that she's supposed to be. If she's 19, she's not gonna be the most mature. And she's like, I have to be positive because this is my job. And she's way more positive and bubbly and upbeat. And she's not serious at all. So I think that's really interesting because we had this dichotomy between you being very serious and you occasionally being really bubbly and positive in the other route.
Right.
And so this is just so far she was bubbly and positive, and that was it.
I think part of that could be because in this route she doesn't have Kid to bounce off of, and I think part of that could be that she tried to do the bubbly, jokey thing with him, but it doesn't work with him. He just takes everything seriously. So maybe that could have something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's because she's spring you and she's more positive by nature.
Yeah, she's also spring you and not follow you.
Oh, right, yeah, I keep on forgetting that they're not the same.
It's so weird.
So this is another you. The you who I think, it's much more suspicious now that this you is the Dr. Tanaka in the other timeline.
At first, when you said that there was a second you, I thought it was going to be some kind of stupid stuff, like she puts the little name tag on the left side instead of the right side. I didn't even notice the name thing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know exactly how the Dr. Tanaka thing works in, but we can get more into this as something goes on, but something in this update hit me that I feel kind of like they're switching off somehow.
The outfits, it's tied back to the outfits.
The outfit, but even in this, when day 2 comes around, there's a tell, I feel like, but so I'll save it there, but yeah, I feel like somehow the two U's are I don't know, switching off in both routes, and I don't know why exactly or how. I have a crazy theory, but and then I think do we do the life reading thing this time around?
Yeah.
Oh, where she reads his hand?
Yeah, the only thing I have between that now and that in my notes is Tsugumi calls Takeshi dumb when he tries to talk to her, and frankly, he deserves everything. In this run, I will redeem Takeshi. And then, and they split up and search the facility just like last time, get a lay of the land, and they meet up with Sora, and she says that there's 6 people in the complex, and Kid says, look at the screen, or Coco says, look at the screen, and that whole 5-7 fluctuation happens.
But this time it settles on 6, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess that would account for Pipi this time around as the extra life form, if I had to guess.
Although they don't seem to include him, though, when they're talking about life form or number of people in the party. They never mention Pipi.
So the tricky thing is that they're still trying to play Sora like she's not a holo, like you're not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what like annoys me too, but it's
and also like in this timeline or run or whatever, it does seem like nobody knows that she's a hologram. Well, Tsugumi does,
right?
And Tsugumi's not present during the fluctuation.
Yeah, knows because she's worked there. Does you know
that she's a hologram?
Yeah. She's worked there over the time, so like she's aware of that.
She said she only worked there for 4 days.
I mean,
but
that's
when they
later on she kind of acknowledges it,
and she makes fun of Takeshi for not getting it.
Yeah. When they do the reveal, she laughs like you didn't know.
It's still the same. So it just makes it even weirder that you knows it and doesn't say anything, and like.
Well, the weirdest part to me is when they get into the life readings that are fluctuating, because then it's very pertinent that she shouldn't be counted when they're trying to figure out what's going on. Which seems like, honestly, a problem with both routes. Like, you'd think at some point, unless you knows what's going on, or you and Sora in on it, like, somebody has to say, hold on a minute, we can't count Sora. You know what I mean? Like, it's pertinent. It's not just, like, trivia.
Especially because this time, it wouldn't count Sora, because there's Takeshi, Coco, Pipi, then Kid, Tsugumi, and did I say you already? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think you did.
There's 6 people, right? Because it's you, Kid.
Yeah, Mayo's
Takeshi.
not here.
Yeah, there's not even hints about her.
So we're down 1 person, but we're up a dog. So now it is 6, right?
Right.
Yep.
So so before it settled on 5, and that was Takeshi, Kid, Tsugumi, you and Mayo. And then here it's settling on 6, and Mayo's gone, but Coco and Pipi take Mayo's place, which ups it by 1. Unless there is, of course, other counting tricks going on here. Right?
But again, it seems like Takeshi would be like, wait, 6? That's not right, because it's like, there's 7 if you count
the dog
the hologram.
Is barely present.
I think
the dog is like Kid's broken arm.
That's kind of the kind of way I'm reading it. Yeah, is Takeshi is counting Sora in Pipi's spot. He's not counting Pipi. That's
how
the
can
way
you not
I'm
count the Pipi?
You gotta count the Pipi.
We're talking about
Pipi
Pipi
here.
here.
Say Pipi in this podcast.
I will let you know I'm going to try and shoehorn it into every discussion.
Pipi is the new Mayo.
Literally, yeah.
Pipi's the new Mayo. That's the title, possibly.
There we go.
Let's see. So that same thing goes on, and they search. So then they go and search everything, and we get to go to every. Oh, another thing is that Takeshi talks about how he has a PDA in the year of our Lord 2017.
Right.
He has a PDA, and it's like a Maglite PDA that if you shake it slowly recharges. And so as he was walking around, it was recharging, and he like notes like, oh, it's charged, but I can't connect to anything. I can't make any calls. I can't connect to the internet.
At one point too, before it was charged, because he was like, at first he looks at it and he's like, it's still basically dead. Then he hands it to Coco and is like, he's describing, he's like, yeah, I have a PDA. It's one of those that like it charges if you shake it or whatever, so it just casually recharges, and he's like, here you go. And then she just starts shaking it like a maraca, like crazy,
like a Pokewalker.
Yeah, he's like, well, I guess it entertained her. I'm like, how are you treating it normal that this girl is allegedly like 15.
Yeah.
Please, someone mention. Oh my god.
No, yes.
So now we get to go everywhere and talk to everyone.
Now,
Yes.
something interesting, though, too, is the souvenir shop is a place in this route, but I don't think like we ever went there in the previous route.
Yeah,
Only
the souvenir
when,
shop, it seems to be the new conference room, because we never go to the conference room.
Is that a fact?
Wait, what?
Not in this
Oh,
part where we walk around. We don't go to the
I
conference
didn't
room.
even...
Well, in the first one, we only went to the souvenir shop in the intro when he
Right.
was wearing the tanuki, the lemur outfit, and then he he pulled Takeshi pulled the head off, and it was Kid. That was the only time we were there.
Yeah. Like, most everything else seems the same. Like, there's the infirmary, security office, warehouse, all that stuff. But, yeah, I just noticed, like, when we went to the souvenir shop was an option. That's when I thought I had a handle on what might be going on here, but
So we go to the souvenir shop, and Kid is there. And then
Right.
all this memory loss stuff that we alluded to happens. Kid's memory loss seems much more profound than when we played as him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't remember things on a minute-to-minute basis.
Right, he forgot Takeshi's name, right?
Yeah.
Right, he forgot where
Yeah.
he was.
Yeah, and Takeshi comments on he was forgetting things between like sentences that I was telling him. Like he had to reintroduce himself like 4 times or something like that, and was repeated. He's like, "Yeah, we're in Lemieux." He's like, "Lemieux," and he's just like 5 seconds later, "Where am I?" And he's like, "Oh my god!" Like he just said, he's like, "Yeah, I couldn't keep a conversation. He was just forgetting everything constantly." So
Yeah,
his
and so
memory
he's like-
loss
Takeshi
is-
So he gives
a
him a
note.
notebook.
Yeah, it's pretty much, "Hey, memento boy, here you go."
Write it
Yeah.
down.
Which was very, like, proactive of Takeshi. Like, I feel like the other routes Takeshi would not be so involved with somebody else's problems.
Would have just walked
Right.
away. I can't deal with this.
Yeah, he only really cared about the rat in the other route, it seemed like.
And so
and hot dogs.
We
Sorry.
hear that the year is 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And I searched through my notes for 2017, and they in the other route they do say toward the beginning that it is 2017. So at some point, it's not until we hit like Yu's parents dying that whether it is still 2017 comes into question.
Yeah, so definitely in the Kid route, by the time, like later on, like day 4, I guess, is when we're finding like the records. Day 3 or 4, we're finding the records, and we establish it's 2035. But yeah, in the beginning of Kid's route too, I guess, like if what you're saying is right, but it was 2017 there too. It's weird.
Or they
I
think that it's 2017.
I definitely see because Takeshi, when he's talking to Kid's like, "What year is it?" And he goes, "Hey, what year is it?" And then he checks his PDA, and it's 2017.
Which is weird in itself. Like, how could you forget what year it is? Like, that's not
Also-
something you forget.
The other
That's
thing
one
that's
of those-
odd, the thing that really bothered me is when he mentioned he was like starting his PDA back up. The first thing he says is like, "I set the time on it," and that was like the first thing he did was set the time. And like, did you have a reference, or are you just going by the clocks in the building? Like, I don't know. That seems iffy. And if you have to
Oh.
reset the time, like, were you guessing on the rest of it? Like, I don't know how
Right.
far off his clock or everything is.
So, well, one thing that is different between Takeshi and Kid's route too, if I'm remembering correctly, not to go back a little, but like, so Takeshi's on an elevator when shit goes down at Lemieux, and they get off the elevator. So in terms of like quote unquote consciousness, he's just right into whatever story he's in. Nothing has broken. Kid though jumps in a lake, kind of blacks out, and wakes up in an infirmary, which means Kid's route could be a totally different thing for all we know, not connected to the prologue.
Yeah.
Yep. We could be
And
in
it's
the
more
second
like-
loop. Yep.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
definitely feels like the Takeshi is the first loop and Kid is the second loop.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of where I'm going too.
So let's see. So then we talk to all the other characters. We go to Takeshi goes to the dolphin carousel where Yu is. She turns the carousel on without him knowing she's there, which scares him. And then she talks to him and talks about how Lemieux gets its power from steam from the hot vents, which I believe is something that Sora explains to Kid in the other route.
I think so.
Yeah, in the other route, they kind of made it like it was a secret, whereas here they just tell you.
Yeah, right off the bat. So there's a lot of things that, like, Takeshi knows right away. And also, like, you know, it's like you is the one who's like Sora's not the one explaining all of this, versus for Kid, a lot of this was Sora explaining it to him later. So I mean, that doesn't mean any. I don't know what that means, just because, you know, Kid gets treated a certain way. So
right.
And Yu talks about that this is only her 4th day working at Lemieux. And also she also just tells Takeshi about her quest to search for her missing father, like, which seems like not something she would have done in the other route. And this is still day 1, you know. That's a lot of trust to put in Takeshi, who she, like, hates in the other route.
See, what's different about this route is, in the last one, she seemed to hate everybody just about equally, and especially Kid. And especially you and the others. Whereas here, she doesn't really.
Oh, Tsugumi, you mean?
Yeah, Tsugumi.
Tsugumi is... You're right, like, she's standoffish, but, like, she out and out distrusts everyone in the other route. This Loop 1, Loop 2 theory is looking a lot better.
Yeah, so the next place we go to is go to... Takeshi goes to the elevator, but there's nothing there. He ends up at the... Qual ride with the sad fish in front of it. The fish man, where the fish man was.
Yeah.
And Tsugumi is looking at an elevator. Oh, she's looking at the elevator they were trapped in. And Takeshi goes over to look at it too. And she pushes on him a little bit, like she's gonna push him down the elevator shaft. Which, wow, okay. And then he's like, why did you do that? And she calls him a coward. Which is like, calm down, Tsugumi. And she also, you know, says, you know, she doesn't think this was an accident. She thinks it's a trap. And I think Takeshi is like, yeah, I feel that way too.
Yeah. Takeshi's more on the ball, definitely, in general, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. And,
yeah. But the entire time, Tsugumi is also doing this thing where it's like, oh, Takeshi, you look like you're really serious and you've got everything together, but I bet you're really just an idiot and a coward.
Yeah, and to allude to the point you got to before that, there was like, she doesn't make that same illusion of we've been through this before, and so like that's a big ass hint that, like, this does not seem like the same Tsugumi of possibly Loop 2.
Yeah, she's still really enigmatic, but she's not as angry. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And, like, Kid has an excuse for, you know, because of the amnesia that he wouldn't remember Loop 1, but, like, I'm getting the impression Tsugumi remembers it and feels like everyone else should. And that's, like, why in Kid's route she's like, you can't trust them or whatever. So I wonder if that means Kid's definitely going to die, too, on day 7, because that was the prediction that she had. You know what I mean? Like, you remember in Kid's route, she's like, you're gonna die on day 7, which means if this was a previous loop, then she would know that. You know what I mean?
So she was talking about what happened in this loop, this first one.
That's what I would think. I don't know, honestly.
Like I said, we're not quite too far into this story. It could be she starts making those illusions later on, because she didn't quite make those illusions until later on in the first game either.
That's fair too. Yeah.
Yep.
So more changes. Another place you can look is the security office, which is stained with smoking. There's a bunch of cigarettes everywhere. And,
no kidding.
Which is different than the security office in the other route, which is clean. Like this security office is tinted yellow instead of blue. Takeshi goes in there and it's like, oh, all the guys who work here must smoke, and they don't care about the sign that says no smoking. And then, like, Takeshi's like, Sora, are you in here? And she's very clearly she's in there, but she's not projected. And so she's like, oh, I'm just off to the side doing something else. Please leave.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, sorry, are you, like, changing clothes? Because why else would somebody, you know, be hidden and not want you in there? And she was like, no, it's something else, but okay, sure. And
just leave.
Right.
So, and then he's like,
Just-
okay, I'll come back later. But the security office is different. It's full of cigarettes. So I thought that was really interesting. Like, it almost speaks to the second loop being kids' route, and the situation was artificially recreated. And I still get, like, a really strong feeling of that it's artificially recreated in at least the second loop.
Yeah.
But how?
That's a good question.
So, like, no, I mean, all right, you have kid who's got amnesia and is maybe a fish monster. Okay.
They make more allusions to that in this game, too. They're really pushing that.
You have two U's, which is totally weird, because it's like, I don't even know how to, like, start on that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you have two Takeshis, which doesn't seem to make much sense. Two Segumi, well, it seems like the same Segumi in both loops. Sora's the RSD, I guess that doesn't matter. Who am I missing? No one, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and then for some reason...
and then Coco and Mayo, who switch, are
Yeah.
people.
So it's like, we can't recreate Coco for some reason, so I guess we'll just use Mayo. Whatever, since we got this other girl. Close enough. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Yu's whole story is the most suspicious to me. Like, there's definitely, like, oh, Sora wants to be real, but the Yu thing, like, really, because Yu's mom, when we saw a picture of her in the reader, looked just like her, and then there was that man that was on there, and it's like, who was that? It feels like it has something to do with Yu. And, like, maybe it's like something happened on this run on the first time, and then Yu gets out and is like, no, like, maybe it's like very Zero Escape, and it's like, she maybe, like, feels like she needs to recreate that event somehow because there's some sort of time thing that's happening.
The kind of feeling that I'm getting is maybe something happened to where they had to recreate it, or it just wound up being recreated. It was the only way they could do it, and some people are just kind of going through the motions to make sure that the first event happens, so that it's stable time loops.
Yeah,
I also feel like that it's possible that the first loop that we play is not the first loop that this ever happened, and that the very first time it happened was how Yu's parents died.
Oh, yeah. See, my big thing is, like, I feel like the key is kid, which, like, I mean, we're only playing through these two loops, so, like, maybe this is just based on the way we're experiencing it, but it feels like kid is not too functional in this loop, and that the second loop is because they're trying, like, whatever they're trying to do means that kid is going to be, like, this functional being and is not going to die at the end of it, and as long as you get him through it, it feels like a lost situation where, like, okay, we've got to get him through the end of this, and if we can get him alive, then we accomplish our goal.
Right, like he had just maybe something like he has the antibodies for Teeth Blue, which is gonna outbreak, you know what I mean? Like something like that.
There's still a lot about Kid that hasn't been answered, and there's some very suspicious stuff going back to the beginning of the game where he says offhand, "Getting here was easy, I just have to aim for the center." Which I don't know what that could mean.
Did we I'm sorry. So did we explore everything?
The other places we can go is the infirmary. So
yes.
Takeshi goes, and he already knows, like, his internal dialogue says that he knows Lemieux is sponsored by a pharmaceutical company. So he is, again, like, because he's, I guess, older and he doesn't have amnesia, he, like, knows all this stuff about it already. He hears Coco talking to someone in the decompression chamber below the infirmary. But when he goes down there, it's just her and the dog. And she was like, oh no, I was just talking to Pipi. Also, can I call you Takepyeon? Which it seems to be a reference to a children's song that does not translate to like.
Also, I don't know, when she was talking, it just very much seemed to me like, you're talking to Mayo through an internet or something.
Gotta be.
Like, okay.
Actually,
that's what I.
That conversation, it mirrors the one that Kid had when he was down here and he saw her, which at the time she was not a character.
No, that's what I was thinking. Right, exactly.
It mirrors that conversation. She says the exact same things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you can hear him, everybody help, did you come to help? It's probably impossible, there's no way out anymore. What's she saying? And then when he jumps in, she says liar because like he's catching part of the conversation. If we're going with loop 2, that she's gonna later have with Kid, like, in the second loop, which then makes me then question the whole loop thing. But we've also got this arc going on too with the fourth dimension where you can see it with your third eye.
Right.
So.
And that's to me that kind of. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's definitely communication between, like, both ways between the past and the future. Like it seems like she could be having that very conversation with future Kid, and that's part of it, right? It's not just the past. It's not just like the second run informing the first run, but the first run also informs the second run, and they're back and forth like that, which is very, like, in line with sort of themes of later games, in 999 and stuff. So I think that it's totally possible. And, like, but why? Why do they have to communicate with each other? What are they trying to accomplish?
You know. This is a little weird. I don't know what's. I'm just gonna go on a limb with this one. Does Takeshi look like the Kid to anyone else?
Yeah, he kind of does. I didn't want to say anything. They look like they could be. They have, like, really similar hair. I don't know. They look like they could be the same person at different ages.
It's just it's bothering me that in this loop everyone gets Takeshi's voice actor is gone. But the Kid's is here, and vice versa for his route, which makes me almost feel like they're the same voice actor, and the game is trying to hide it.
Oh, that would be a good way to do it then. Not put them back to back.
Yeah, but I was paying attention in the intro, and it seemed like they were two different people. But I could be wrong.
It could be the same person putting on two different voices.
Yeah, good.
That's true, yeah. Or it could just be two different voice actors and whatever. All right. So the only other place you can go is the warehouse, and there's nothing in there. And then Takeshi heads back to the control room.
I do want to bring up about the warehouse. I went there thinking that we would have some sort of connection to Mayo, because in the first game you can go there, Mayo's in there, but she's not really doing anything. It's just, oh, it's Mayo, she's here, and then that's kind of it. Whereas you go into the warehouse in this run, nobody's in there, but they kind of have this line saying nobody's here, there's no reason anybody would be here.
Let me see. That's interesting.
Which also, like, wouldn't there be, like, what? Nobody ever goes in that warehouse and looks at what is in any of the containers, and nobody ever even reads off what the labels on the containers are, and that might be pertinent.
Yeah, and also, like, I was going a little fast at this point. Is the first line when he walks in the warehouse, does it mention something about, like, a description of what's going on there?
Yeah,
like,
it talks about, like, all the everybody left in a hurry, so, like, the machines are, like, halfway through.
Just kind of left where
stuff.
They were at.
Okay, because I thought I skipped over something. It sounded like it was describing, I don't know, like pharmaceuticals or not, but I could be totally wrong.
Well, he does, like, know that it's them, but I don't recall any of the boxes, like, are labeled specifically as drugs.
Yeah, just all kinds of mark symbols and letters. There were a bunch of round carbon capsules and drum-looking objects. That might be it.
Yeah, that might have been why I skipped over. I guess the capsule thing set me off.
Very strangely, after everything, too, that Takeshi takes a look at, he has, like, this bracket, like, warehouse, situation normal thing
weird.
Going on.
Takeshi's weirdly methodical.
Merry-go-round, situation normal.
Yeah, I feel like that does go back to something that I'd kind of passed up on, like, Divac, when you mentioned that he might, like, have, like, this sort of, be, like, a little neurotypical with, like, schedules and things. Or a robot. But yeah, like,
not everybody can be a robot.
Can't they? What if it's robots and that's why they've been
If that's the really shitty twist, I'm gonna burn this game down.
Well, that everyone's a robot?
Everyone's a robot.
You've said it.
Yeah,
even the dog is a robot. It's an eyeball.
Hey.
We talked about robot dogs in the beginning. In the previous run, their teacher had a robot dog.
Don't
right.
you remember Loop 1 there, Dave?
No.
Where Pipi, or yeah, Pipi. We know pet cloning exists in this, so. But then Coco and Pipi aren't there in Loop 2, so never mind.
Every time you say Coco and Pipi, it makes me laugh more.
I know, it's rough.
Grow up. No, I'm joking.
Takeshi gets
Real
back to
mature.
the control room, and Yu is there, and she's like, Takeshi, you're late. And Coco's also late, and she's like, oh, it's okay, Coco. Because Coco's a baby. And,
We need some
Sora-
MRA guys in there.
Sora's in there, and she explains the whole thing about the depth, and that they can't swim out, and that whole thing, and you can say, I guess, like, tell me more, or don't tell me more about the whole depth situation. You can't swim under high water pressure. Even if we busted out the wall, we couldn't swim up to the surface. Sora explains all the stuff that, I tried all this communication, and this sonic, like, seafloor communication, and that's down, everything's down.
And you can't swim up it because your blood would do some kind of weird, nasty shit. Ugh.
Yeah, so that would seem to me exactly the same as before.
Although this time Sora does ask Takeshi if he's satisfied with the explanation of why he can't swim, which interestingly is actually an impactful choice.
Oh, really?
Really, if you are satisfied, you get a Sora point and a Segumi point.
Not a
I don't really
dumbass
know.
and not contradicting. There you go. You
Yeah.
got two.
So,
Yeah,
so what if
exactly.
you say that you're not satisfied?
You don't get anything.
Yeah, you lose.
Nice.
Good day, sir.
You lose.
There's a big temptation for me as Takeshi, though, to push to try to get them to say more. So I said unsatisfied, but every time I pick the thing that's, like, trying to push them to say more information, they just, like, brush me off. So I feel like it's, like...
Yeah, it seems like
dumb.
they did that a lot in both of them, where it's like, okay, either, you say, like, I don't want to hear about it, or please tell me more, and you just get the same result anyway,
Yeah.
other than a point, I guess, which is frustrating. Kind of bad writing, but what are you gonna do?
So then Takeshi returns to the souvenir shop, which seems to be, like, the place where everybody hangs out. Like, they haven't been in the conference room yet. We haven't heard about the conference room. We have the souvenir shop. And, he does, like, a staring contest with Coco and Pipi.
Yeah.
Just Pipi.
Right. He stares
yeah,
at
Pipi.
Pipi.
Oh, yeah, with Pipi. Yeah, he's having... This Takeshi is a lot more whimsical. And he is having a staring contest with Pipi, and Coco is, like, moving Pipi's face around so that he'll laugh, I guess.
I
I don't
guess.
know.
I think it was like
It
some kind
doesn't
of make a
matter.
funny face contest. I don't know. It was. Ugh.
And then Kid shows up, and they decide to call him Kid without anybody voting.
That's right. Yeah.
And they talk about, like, oh, we'll call him Mr. Memory Loss, or we'll call him da-da-da-da, just like before. Except
Right.
Kid doesn't get to say, well, I think I should be called this. They all just call him
Right.
Kid.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
and they're like, call him John, and Sora's like, that's disrespectful to Johns. I'm like, what?
I think they said that last time, too.
It still doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
It's a really huge burn.
And then Coco comes up with this like really long kind of like Italian or Spanish
Oh, yeah, like a
sounding
formal
name.
Spanish name. She's
Yeah.
like, oh, we should call him, and then she lists off, like, a full formal Spanish name.
I'm gonna thank the Let's Play for
It
letting
ends
me
in
in on
Picasso.
that. Yep.
Yeah,
It's Picasso's real name. Yep.
It's almost Picasso's real name. Yeah. The apparently the translation or maybe the original got it wrong. Like it's a little off. Like, but she says it's Pablo Diego Jose Francisco de Juan Vicino Maria de Ramos or whatever. And but she gets like one or two of the things like wrong. But,
Now,
Well, she's just a kid.
forgive me for being a bumpkin, but did they actually have names that were that long back then?
Haven't you seen Spy Kids? Yes, of course they did.
I never
No,
saw.
I have not seen Spy Kids. I'll have to look it up now.
So traditional.
No, it's a joke. No, don't.
No, actually, traditional
yes,
Spanish
it
names
is
still have
everything.
they still have that.
Yeah.
You just keep adding your families in.
It actually, yeah, it kind of depends on religion or region a lot of times. Because I know I don't know about Spanish in particular, but I know one of my friends was like born in Africa to a family, and like part of the naming process was like everybody who was like friends of the family came and gave an additional name.
Oh.
And his name, like he obviously, you know, he only went with, you know, Olufemi and then his last name, and that was it. That's what he went by. But at one point he's like, yeah, let me see if I can actually remember my whole damn name. And he just tried, and it was like 30 something pieces long. So it is the thing in some
also
cultures.
In the old Spanish tradition is more like it's both parents' last names. So you just keep doing that, and you have, you know, 2 to the n names, because where n is the number of generations back, right? Because you have both of your parents' last names and then all their parents' last names that they have,
Yes.
and so on and so forth.
Yep. Yeah, you keep mixing in both the patrilineal and matrilineal sides. So you just keep adding all those names in.
Jeez.
So going back to the game, so the lights flicker, and so I don't think this happened in the other run. Like, the lights flicker and there's like a tremor, and Tsugumi says that tremor felt like it came from below sections of the 3rd floor flood. So the 3rd floor is not, because in the beginning of Kids Run, the 3rd floor is already flooded with the water that drained from the 2nd floor, and in this one it's not, and this is when the 3rd floor gets partially flooded. And so something, you know, I guess is busted out of like the Himmel room or something like that, like, or there's something that happened. And now is when all of the flooding happens that, like, cuts everything off from itself, or I don't know, some amount of it is now flooded that wasn't before. In the other run, like, Sora was like, oh, this is how it's flooded, and that had already happened. So something busted out and caused this flooding. Sora apologizes for not noticing the flood was going to happen until it had already started, which is extremely suspicious. But because we want to date the robot, was like, yes.
It's
not
okay.
Your fault.
Could have happened to anybody.
Yeah. And,
It's okay, robot.
But it's totally her fault.
Totally.
Why didn't she know that? What's going on?
It might just be me, but she seems to be incredibly more apologetic and kind of frantic this go around.
Yeah. Yeah, she does a lot of, like, deep apologies. Extremely Japanese apologies.
Yeah, with deep bows, too. Like,
Very deep bows,
It's described
yeah.
very often, yeah.
So this might be Sora's first time experiencing this.
Or maybe this is Sora 1.0.
Yeah.
She shows the map too, right? Of Drittistok and Svitostok.
Yeah, then she shows where the map with all the sections cut off from each other.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the map now. So this is something just, like, odd, is that, you know how, like, half of Lemieux is gone, pretty much, of the 2nd and 3rd floor? Mm-hmm. I was thinking, I wonder if the other loop or the other thing going on is in the other half. Like, this is not really flooded, but, like, we're told it is. So it's just, like, the other half of Lemieux is where stuff is going on, which... That doesn't seem right. It seemed odd to me. Like, if you actually look at the map, the 3rd floor seems like a little more than half, and the 2nd floor seems like a little less than half. It's just like, it's weird to me that like it's pretty roughly 50% of the facility is flooded. You know what I mean, or cut off.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just like me grasping at things or what, or anyway. But at any rate, which is why then, like. Yeah.
The only thing is, like, because the generator goes off and they have to restart it, like, I don't know, that would be the only reason why I would be like, I don't know if they're, and there's, like, a central area, like, the central rest area that's, like, in the middle, supposedly.
See, though, that's, let me show you here, in this, because I feel like the center is actually cut off, like, if you look at the picture, like, there's no, like, center Really, it's
yeah,
just like
the very center is
the very center. Yeah, I mean, granted though, all the rooms are repeated, which means that like there'd have to be like 2 control rooms, 2 of everything, except for the souvenir shop. When I first saw that souvenir shop, I'm like, oh, we're on the other side of Lemieux, and we're gonna get all different rooms in this route. But then we didn't do it. It's just the souvenir shop.
Could it
so
be,
that's
like if it was happening at the same time, that would be wild. Like,
yeah, and it wouldn't make a lot of sense because then you have that room in the infirmary where Kid and Kid's route is talking to Coco, who exists in Takeshi's route, which would mean they would be directly physically connected, and then Coco and the other Takeshi could see each other, or, excuse me, the other Kid and this Takeshi could see each other, but, so that doesn't quite make sense, but it is, I don't know.
it's interesting idea.
The only way it might make sense is if this is like a hypercube, if this is some kind of tesseract structure that can bend in on itself.
I mean, if that's the case, then you don't even need the half thing. Like, if this was like a 4th dimensional structure, it could even just look like none of it's flooded.
I mean, we have RSDs though, and I think in this era where retinal projection technology is a thing, like it's possible that someone could be in those cutoff chambers and being scanned by the camera and projected into this other room in the same location, right? So,
right.
like both people are feel like they're in the same room because of this like AR that's going on. So I wouldn't rule it out for sure.
Yeah.
And then Coco gets sick, and Sora feels like
so Sora is not proactive about decompression sickness,
which is weird.
She is reactive in this one because Coco feels bad. Oh, also Takeshi brings a bunch of sodas into the control room for everyone, and he doesn't get one for Sora because this game hates us and wants us to continue to be frustrated. Kid soda explodes in his face, so that still happens. So good consistency there. Needed to see that happen again. And yeah, so Coco says that she hasn't been able to think of any jokes, which is how she knows something is wrong.
The gas in my blood makes me stop thinking of jokes.
So one thing that does kind of push, though, as far as Sora being very reactive as opposed to proactive this time around, is the whole multiple timelines occurring at the same time. Because, I mean, if Sora is just like a computer, she would have awareness of both concurrent series of events. So, maybe that happens in the one timeline with Coco gets sick, and that's why she immediately is like, oh shit, everybody get in this room, we're going to start decompression stuff right now.
Yeah, because she already knows it already happened.
Yeah,
in
she
this
doesn't
round,
realize it.
Yeah, in this round, they also kind of make a thing of Tsugumi and Sora talking, and a point is made that it's like a learning computer. It rewrites itself to learn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it could be a machine learning situation where perhaps each iteration of Sora starts from 0, where she like doesn't remember, but the neural net has been retrained with this new information.
Holy cow, that would be awesome. If they somehow had a computer that could, rewrite itself and learn, and it's just running it through the same situation over and over with the same people in different realities or different timelines to get to the final point of the world's smartest computer.
Or to make the situation end up the way that it needed to end up.
So that they can go release it out in the actual world to go solve the real problem.
Yeah, what if Lemmy is making, clones of everybody or doing something with everybody, wiping their memories over and over or something like that.
Make an impossible situation and try to get the computer to fix it.
And then recreating all the things that happened and recreating the emergency over and over again to be like, this time we're going to fix it. This time we're going to make it go right.
You'd think, though, you just have to do a simulation. You wouldn't have to actually recreate things.
Yeah, but it's not
we're an
cool
evil
of a story
pharmaceutical.
that way.
Yeah, and we're an evil pharmaceutical corporation. We got quotas to meet.
But what if it's just Lemmy? What if it's not Lieblich? What if it's just Lemmy?
Evil computers got a quota to meet.
So yeah, we have we do get a choice in the decompression room, which of course Tsugumi opts out of, and Sora opts out of. which of course leads to a choice of Takeshi. Is an odd choice that shouldn't seem like it matters at all, but it's like, that's weird. You can only wonder, where's Segumi gonna stay and where's Sora gonna sleep? You know?
Which seems like, who are you suspicious of? But I'm sure you're about to tell me I'm wrong.
Of course you're wrong.
It's because which one are you more interested in?
That's the one. That's the trick.
I like how in both timelines, when they're going through decompression, nobody really seems to give a shit if Segumi gets decompressed or gets the bends or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I guess she's not. I guess she doesn't need to decompress. She's fine.
She's a robot. She doesn't need it.
Very strangely, asking where did Segumi go gets you 2 Segumi points, but asking when will Sora sleep will get you 1 Sora point.
Also, Takeshi's like constantly asking, like, why isn't Sora sleeping? Why isn't Sora eating? Over and over.
Why is Sora obsessed with the number 1 and 0?
I guess, to be totally fair, if this is such a perfect hologram, I don't know. You would at least think Android would cross your mind, but strangely though, even though we're having all these like loops and stuff like that, apparently Takeshi had the same wet dream and people drew on him.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least he got his face drawn on.
That's true. We don't.
I don't think they explicitly say they drew on his face because he had a sex dream.
Because he had a
You're right.
No,
you're right.
No, in this loop, he definitely had a raging boner. Everybody's like, that's gross. Let's draw on you.
That's apparently what they draw on his face.
Yeah, it's nothing but boners.
So
I don't know what they drew on his face this loop, but it was apparently something pretty vile.
And difficult to get off.
Yeah, so like...
But the same thing happens, he like rubs his face and you won't tell him what's wrong, and and when he wipes his face off, she gives him like a palm reading and is like, oh, she's like fucking with him, and she's like, oh, I see this ink on your palm, like, oh, your palm reading. And she says your future splits into 2 distinct futures, one that's good and one that's bad.
No, I disagree with your timeline of events, pal. This is what I think. I think he encounters you earlier in the morning. She's like, oh, just sleep well, you should really wash your face. Okay? He goes to talk to Kid, like, what the hell's going on here? And Kid's like, I don't know, you know.
Hey, I got no memory, but I can tell you one thing. You got dicks on your face.
Right. He goes to some bathroom where the mirror is so broken that he can't see his reflection at all, and the sink's just running, and he kind of washes his face as best he can. He figures he got it. He sees you again, and this time it almost seems like you has no idea what he's talking about.
Oh.
Because he goes, well, I was asleep. You scribbled all over my face, didn't you? Scribble? What's this guy talking about? You're probably still asleep. And then Takeshi's like, don't play dumb with me. You were just talking about a mirror. And then, like, he shows her his shirt collar where there's still ink. And that's when she goes, oh, your palm has an interesting reading.
Yeah, I don't buy it. I don't buy it because, for what we learn later, he still has ink on his face. A new you would have been like, wait, dude, you still have ink on your face.
I think whatever is on his face is smudged. She has no idea what he's talking about. And suddenly she's like, the jig is kind of getting up here. Like, I should know what's going on, but I have no idea what he's talking about, so I'm going to misdirect him and change the subject.
Oh, wait, so she's in on this.
They switch.
Both yous know. Okay, so they know they're switching.
Both yous know.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I think.
I got you, yeah. That makes more sense, yep.
Right, so, like, second you knows something is up, and she feels like, I should know what's going on here, but I haven't had a chance to debrief with the other you, so I don't know why he's got ink on his face or whatever. And he's like, before the other you is like, you should go wash your face. Like, she acknowledged it. Other you doesn't know that. And then she's like, oh shit, I'm supposed to know about this. Oh, let me, palm read. That's how I'm reading this right now.
That's good. I like that.
It's possible. But I think it's interesting that her reading is sort of a foreshadowing by saying his future splits into 2.
That is weird.
Yeah. Although if we got multiple U's going on, it's a possibility we have multiple U's who are looping back on each other, knowing that, meaning they are already aware of the time loop.
Shit.
That's why she's alluding to it.
Oh, this is so fucking weird.
It's how many U's deep are we?
Oh my god, what if like one U is the other U's daughter?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Or clone.
Well, yeah, because if it was daughter, it seems like they'd be aware then.
Or she has a daughter who grows up to be 17 and then loops back somehow so it's 2035, but there's two people. No, never mind. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a possibility that none of them are daughters and that they're all clones of Yuki Tanaka as
That's
well.
fair. That makes sense. That would make sense with Dr. Tanaka, yeah. Alright, anyway, so...
Takeshi, walks up to Tsugumi and it gives you a prompt?
It's talk to her and wait till what she says, right? I think.
Yeah.
And if you talk to her, that's a Tsugumi point.
Ah. I waited to see what she says.
Yeah.
Sidestepping the Tsugumi point.
No Tsugumi point for you, my
I
friend.
waited because that seems like a thing Tsugumi would prefer, honestly, after all the
Let's see
bitching
what
about
you're
asking
doing.
questions. Well, I mean, it was like, she's just really mad whenever you ask questions. She's like, don't ask me questions, fuckwad. And it's like, well, you don't ask questions, and that's maddening.
Tsugumi
Women,
is-
right? Like, no.
Tsugumi is... whenever we hear what the explanation for her is, I would bet you more than anything that it is not enough to explain why she behaves this way. There's definitely going to be some element that's just, Tsugumi is also kind of a fucker.
Men get trapped in a underground amusement park like this, but women get trapped in an underground amusement park like this.
My thing, but I chose wait and see as well, and my thing, I put a little note next to each choice, why I made that choice, and mine was, because F her. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Screw you. You were
very
nasty to me
frustrating.
the whole time.
And this goes back to, the visual novel tropes. How much of this is there actually being something interesting behind Tsugumi, and how much of it is the executive saying that we needed this anime trope?
Yeah.
The whole
Also, she's the
tsundere
dark,
thing.
yeah, and she's the dark and mysterious one, and she's got to be weird and anti.
It's not because I
everybody
like
else.
you. I'm doing all this stuff, but it's not because I like you.
Yeah. Let's see. So Sora, they all meet up, I guess, in the control room, and Sora explains the 119 hours estimation, plus or minus 12 hours. That whole thing of this is gonna happen in this many hours within this margin of error.
Right, yeah.
Did anything different happen?
Well,
I didn't-
when Coco hops in and takes the Mayo role in this situation, she's like, "So you mean at 4:30 a.m. we'll all get squashed like a pancake?"
Right, she's the optimist one here. Doesn't that mean that we still have till... Yeah, so she kind of leads the conversation there, but...
But no, nothing substantive changes.
Nah.
So really, Coco takes the place of Kid in a lot of these, because in Kid's route, Kid is very so this is how this works?
Right. Let's see here. So, they make chicken sandwiches, I think, then, and or Takeshi makes them. We make them, and we noticed that Tsugumi and Sora's in the control room, or we can go look for Tsugumi, which is a pretty easy, impactful choice. Insofar as whoever you go look for nets you a point for that person, I believe. Yep. Oh, no, actually, I'm sorry. Looking for Tsugumi gets you a Tsugumi point. Going to see Sora in the control room gets you 2 Sora points.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Double
those
Sora points. Yeah.
Racking them up.
Looking at it here, I'm wondering... It looks like we have a little more leeway than with Kid, too. It's not like you have to get a perfect score or anything, but...
Oh, good.
Sora seems really easy to get points for, too.
See, I always
Yes.
thought the game was pushing you towards Tsugumi.
I feel like story-wise it is, right? You definitely get in these situations with her.
Oh,
It's
but you
just
probably
that,
get the bonus points, yeah, just for making the effort.
Right. It's it seems like everything with Sora is completely straightforward, where if it's if you're nice to her, or you say, or you're you're concerned about her or look after her, it's just that gets you a Sora point. Tsugumi is just weird because the who are you thing gets you 2 Sora points. Not important right now. Satisfied. I'm just looking through all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of seems like It's tricky. It's just it's tricky. Like to get. It seems like the Tsugumi ending almost is like just going from the flowchart, like almost a little intentionally hard. Like nothing obtuse, like where you're like, what, but just little things here and there.
Yeah. Is it tricky?
Yes, sir. So let's see. What did we do? Did we go after Tsugumi or Sora?
I went to Tsugumi.
So yep. So you found the Himmel door, I think.
Yeah. Either way, he does then, because if you look for Sora, he gets lost and ends up at the Himmel door, and then he doesn't find Sora.
Don't think I found the Himmel door actually. I don't think.
Weird.
Maybe. I might just not be remembering. I think I might have started
It was
having
a
power
throwaway
blackout around here. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't talk about it.
It was very light. It was just like, oh, there it is. Now gonna go over here.
Right. But he's with Tsugumi at any rate, and then the blackout happens.
Or he's with Sora, and then the blackout happens. And he's in the middle of Sora not admitting that she's a robot, and then the lights go.
Oh, right. So what happened was, though, he's in front of the control room talking to Sora through the intercom. Which is, because then if the blackout happened, she would just blink out of existence.
That's right.
But he's talking to her through the intercom, and she's kind of like...
And she says, I have to go somewhere, so I can't open this door.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why he's not suspicious that she won't talk to him anymore.
Yeah, at this point, he's standing outside the door, like, waving a sandwich and a Coke in the air, saying, hey, you need to eat. And she's like, no, I really don't. Go away.
Right.
Oh, and let's not skip over the key point from our first run-through. When she says she doesn't want it, he offers her a coupon for a beer.
Oh, I didn't get that. Damn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow,
I'm coupon. Coupons.
So, Tsugumi, I think is
the Tsugumi conversation. That if that's the split off, that might be where, you just kind of start talking to her, and she's just like, "Don't you think this is suspicious?" And you can respond with, "Yeah, this all seems mad fucked up." Like, I think that's the point where I got to say that, and she's like, "Okay, I guess you're not as stupid as I thought." In that case,
right. I actually don't see that in the flowchart, which I almost feel like means it doesn't matter, which is odd to me.
Yeah,
but,
I know that was a choice I got to make, and I don't,
Yeah.
if you don't remember that was probably where it was because she's just like, so like all this seems like really set up and weird, right? Yup. She's like, okay, cool, you're not dumb.
And so Tsugumi is the one this time around who's like, I think I gotta fix the generator. And strangely goes like, Takeshi, I really need your help. And she like says it in some way, like, I really want you.
I really need you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is one of those key moments where the animation changes, where we get a different drawing.
Right, and she like has a smile on her face.
Yeah, and you can help her or look for Sora first. Which again distributes points.
Before you make a choice, everybody else, like the others, appear, and it's important to note that Yu has changed clothes, and Takeshi questions that, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I had a change of clothes." So
that's right.
If we have a Yu switch, it might have happened there as well. But yeah, Yu doesn't lead the charge to go fix the generator. Tsugumi goes. So, there's this sort of thing. If we are switching Yus, if this is happening at the same time, maybe Yu is fixing it in the competent older Yu is fixing it in one timeline, and so she can't fix it in the other one or something.
Mm-hmm.
Although, getting back to my theory of the Yus are both aware of this, the close switch would be way too obvious.
Or just that if it is a time thing and like she remembers it later, so you remember. But also like then you would not if this is past you, like this first you would not have the memory to carry forward of how to fix the generator. And she's like so on top of things and so in control in Kid's route, and in this one she's not even present, so she wouldn't know. That wouldn't be how she learned about the generator.
But if she sent herself back in second route, then she would be way more aware. So this would kind of fit in.
So does anything happen does anything happen for searching for Sora? Because I really want to get to the elevator because it was
I did.
far and away my favorite part of this entire playthrough. Nothing
Yeah,
happens
that's
when you
it.
search for Sora?
Yeah.
Probably just get
Nah,
a
it's
Sora
more
point.
text.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have any choices that you.
Oh yeah, this is kind of great.
All right. So then,
Okay.
and then you go to help Sugumi no matter what. I
Yes,
assume.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. You sure do.
Yeah.
So you and Sugumi get in the elevator and you figure out, you're like, oh, what's that? She's like, it's a toolbox. What do you think? And he's like, okay. And so she starts doing. She's like, well, it's not gonna descend, right? And she's like, okay, yeah. I mean, I guess it won't go down. She's like, why is that? She explains like the ballast tank stuff and like, well, they can't take water in. And you're just like, okay. She's like, cool, so let's make it take water in. And he's just like, wait, what? And she just pulls out a fucking blowtorch and just starts, she just takes like an acetylene torch and just starts cutting out the side of the elevator. And you're just like, and you just start panicking. You're just like, wait, whoa, think about this. And she's like, no, it's fine. And then as water starts pouring in, she's like, they have her just look back and give this smug fucking look. And everything starts sinking, it starts flooding, and Takeshi starts freaking out. And he's like, there's a fucking hole in the elevator. To which she has the best response. And my favorite line so far, which is, yeah, I made it. Because he's just panicking. He's like, you fucking crazy asshole. What are you doing?
And it
She's like,
has to fill completely with water to sink down.
Yeah.
which isn't right. But on top of that, just, oh my God, just the joy of, like, what are you doing? You're going to kill us. There's a hole in the elevator. I know. And then yeah, you're like hanging out, like holding your breath and shit. And you start like blacking out like as you're falling down, and she just grabs the front, but she can't pull it open herself. Like apparently you force your way forward and manage to help pry the elevator doors open just in the nick of time.
Oh, we
She
have a
also
second
has-
choice in there.
She also
we
has
do.
another great line in that elevator where, you know, Takeshi's freaking out. It's like, we're going to die in here. And she's like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
No, but Jim's right though. We do get a choice, which is when all the water starts rushing in, where we can say you can either A, I decided to escape, or I thought maybe I'd wash my hair.
Yeah, which
I
is
washed
just
my
like
hair.
such
I did.
I
I
was down.
escaped. I was like, I'm out. Let's not have Takeshi die.
This girl is crazy. I'm getting the F out of the elevator.
I was down to party. I washed my hair.
I wash my hair.
What happens if you wash your hair?
It's kind of out of character. He's like starts scrubbing, and she's like, he goes like, can you get the shampoo? Wait, what am I doing? And then it goes back.
Because he's not a badass. Like we've experienced Takeshi in two different timelines. This dude is not a badass at all. He's not gonna be like, oh, did you just pop the whole side of this? Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm just gonna wash my hair.
I think he, like, just panicked and just defaulted back to Joker mode. Just pulling out the lame jokes.
If you
Right.
say escape, he just turns around and tries to open the elevator and he can't. And she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm trying to get out, but I can't get out. And then that's it. It starts filling up with water.
Yeah, she just looks disappointed when you do that.
Yeah, she's just like, you're being weird. And you're like, well, I gotta wash my hair. It's been a while. Feels all right. So is that a Sugumi point for going for the hair wash?
That's a non-choice. Doesn't matter.
Damn. I was hoping she'd be like, this kid's got moves. It's just,
Well,
It's
he
clearly
cares
down to
about
party.
cleanliness.
No.
We might be trapped down here, but that's no excuse for poor hygiene.
yeah, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna look good.
And I will say, very strangely, the two choices after that, which we'll get to, also do not count for some reason. Because when they get to the bottom, and it's kind of a similar thing where they're gonna go to the generator room. Sugumi like kind of stops you. What happens? Like she stops you from touching
She does
the door.
this. She does the kid thing where it's like, oh, don't touch that door. It's hot.
Right, like she's like, it's dangerous, maybe, and then,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
exactly the same as it happened in the other story, except it's Sugumi having these premonitions, and the only people there are Sugumi and Takeshi instead of the whole crowd.
yeah, and so let's see here. Right, so this time they have to go to the other room to shut off the room, to shut off the hot water to the generator room so they can go into the generator room and safely enter it. But one of the things too is I think Takeshi's like, what's going on with the elevators and why you sunk it and stuff like, and she's like, do you know about the Archimedes principle? And that's just a total non-choice, does not matter.
So it's another one of those just explanation things.
Yeah. And you kind of get it anyway, right? Where if you said, because I said yes, and then he's like, of course, the buoyancy of it, whatever, And then, but she's like, well, how about you figure out the rest yourself, and walks away. So I'm assuming saying you don't know it is like, no, and she's like, okay, if you fill the thing with water, it'll sink, da-da-da.
Actually, no, she tells you to figure it out yourself there, too.
Oh, wow, okay. Never mind then. She also says, like, a thing where she's like, I guess she does not like stupid questions or meaningless questions. That pisses her off. Because then later you can ask her, like, Takeshi's like wants to be nice to her, so like, well, I'll ask you a meaningful question. You can ask her about the air pressure of the generator room, or why do you know so much about Lemieux? Which is the second option I chose with, to which she replied that was a meaningless question because that doesn't help us at all.
Yeah,
so.
I also chose that because, like, that's what I wanted to know more.
Yep. And then
she doesn't say anything. And they do the same thing. They have to wait for the door handle to cool off.
Mm-hmm.
And while they were waiting for the door handle to cool, Takeshi hears like a clicking noise, and like Tsugumi is clicking something in her hands, but she won't say what it is and hides it. And it made me think that it might be that pendant.
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, and then the part I love more than anything is then that, like, kind of out of nowhere, Tsugumi's like, well, it's my turn now. She's like, close your eyes. She gets close to you, and then she's like, it's a favor, and then when his eyes are closed, she starts spraying Takeshi with some kind of water bottle thing, and she just starts calling him a loser.
And a slug.
Yeah, and like slams him on the ground, starts rubbing his face aggressively, and he's like, it clearly smells like poison, which, I mean, if you don't know what acetone is, clearly it smells like some kind of thing that's going to kill you. And so she just fucking tackles him. Like, he makes comments, he's like, yeah, she was like fucking choking me out, like just holding my neck to the ground and like just fucking going. At first, before he described the smell, I was like, holy shit, are we gonna get waterboarded? Like, it was like, holy shit, that's hardcore. But no, yeah, and then you find out, like, no, she was just really sick of the drawing on your face and just soaked you in acetone, just like covered you in it and just rubbed you down.
But what's great is there's all these insults, like, you jerk, you dumb jerk, take that, you loser, how's that, you slug, you scum on the pond of life. I don't know, I love that old scene for some reason. But, and then he's
memories.
like, and then he's just like, okay, well, thanks for nothing, jeez. And,
they fix the generator with that, and it also takes, like, no time. Like, there's not a whole discussion. Like, with Kid and You, it took so long. They had a whole conversation every step of the way, and Takeshi and Tsugumi just do it.
Right.
Or really, Tsugumi does it, and Takeshi just like twists hard knobs.
And then, right, and Takeshi does do a thing where he's like, all right, we're going to count down from 25, and then she just does it, and she's like, yeah, it started up with 17 seconds ago, and he goes, that was a very important ritual. So he is very much into,
but he says 30 seconds in this one, and in the previous one it was 50 seconds.
And also...
Then,
well, and Tsugumi just, like, nails it again, because it took 17 seconds to start up thing. And so, like, whereas before they mentioned, like, they started it really early, and it didn't hit until, you know, like, there is like, oh, well, it took 17 seconds, so if we would have set it at 17, it would have hit. Tsugumi just does that and hits it at exactly 17 seconds, so that the countdown would have ended at the same time. So that does support a little bit, I guess, of Loop 2, or just Tsugumi having more foreknowledge, because she knew it would take 17 seconds to start up.
Yeah.
Yes, she is not going to take any of this shit, especially not 50 seconds of this shit.
Jeez.
Either that, or she just, you know, out of spite, just pushed the button and just got lucky.
Or she just says she's lucky. There's no way, like, Takeshi's going to figure out it was 17 seconds.
So they get back up, right?
So they go into the elevator, and then it's the same thing like last time, where where they had to take turns using the elevator because of the buoyancy stuff. So Takeshi and Tsugumi get in, and then Tsugumi's like, oh, it's not going to work. So she exits the elevator so that Takeshi goes up to the surface. Or up to the second floor.
Yeah, and then we get his bullshit-ass hero moment where he's like, no, I have to go back down for her. You guys don't know her like I do.
That's right, yeah.
Like, she's just misunderstood.
It's like, she's an asshole, but that shouldn't mean that we abandon her, you know, leave her for dead.
the best part is, like, he gets really mad too. He's like, "What the fuck does she think she's doing?" And he's like, then she comes up and she's like, "You're in my way." And he's like, "I wish I had a rock to crawl under and die." like, same.
And then,
Does this lead to kick the can? Day 2?
Well, first they decide they're in the conference room. They need to, so they play.
Are they in the conference room finally?
I think they're in the conference room.
They are. Yeah, almost right away, yeah.
Yeah, because they decide to play Mental Guts, which Tsugumi knows is concentration, which Yu knows is...
Super
Coco
memory.
knows is super memory, right? Yeah. Which is just like rock, paper, scissors, and flip 2 cards in it's like memory otherwise. But I think that's just like kind of a bullshit conversation, and that's like the point where Kid comes in with a bunch of soda, and Takeshi's like, "Hey, Sora, think fast," which then it's like, "Whoa, the can't pass through her."
And they do the same exact thing as last time, and then they just, after that's all done, and it's the exact, like, I think it's word for word the same at that point.
Yep.
So it makes sense why Takeshi is so overly upset that she's an RSD, because I feel like in the other run he was like also really overly upset, and it was like, dude, calm down. But if he had a crush on her, then I guess that would make sense.
There you go, right?
And then I think after that is when someone immediately is like, "We should play a different game."
Well, it was so weird because, like, we get to that one point and they're like, "Oh, we're all tired. Guess we're gonna go to bed." And then people are like, "No, but let's play a game."
And Tsugumi is like, "I'm not playing a game." And to which Takeshi can be like, "Yeah, you know what? I'll pass," or "I'm in." And that choice does matter.
I would
by
think
the way.
so. Yeah, it sounds like it's getting it all the time.
Yeah. Now, either way, unfortunately, Takeshi will play kick the can. You cannot escape kick the can.
God damn it!
You cannot escape.
If you try and say, "I'll pass, guys," you do get a Tsugumi point at least.
Nice.
And then we have kick the can, which takes forever. There are choices involved in where to search because Takeshi is it.
Do any of them matter at all?
None. You find Sora like bent over in the sandwich, but we see the inside of the chicken sandwich place.
Finally.
Yeah. And you find her, Coco, Kid, Hugh does hit you. It's very strangely, it's not the exact same dialogue as before, but it's pretty much the same sequence of events, except in another round of it, where Kid is it, they hear someone counting from 1 to 100 from somewhere else, and then all of a sudden, Kid is like there, and they're like, "Wait, Kid, aren't you it?" And he's like, "Yeah." And
well, no, at first he's the thing is they're all gathered up, like Tsugumi's down there too, so it's literally everybody. And then Kid comes down and they're like, "Oh, wait, aren't you counting?" And he's just like, like, "You're it." And he's like, "What's it?" It's like, "We're playing the game."
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, shit." Like, he had an amnesia moment because he's an idiot. And then, so they're all really confused, but then they realize they still hear somebody counting, like counting down from 100 to 1.
Yes.
And then they hear the can get kicked. But this time it's Pipi walking down the stairs, holding the can, Pipi with a can. And they're all like, "Oh, ha, Pipi, you kicked the can." But it's like, there's still someone counting, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Who's counting?
They don't know.
Could it be Kid from the
I
other
think it's
timeline?
Kid because I think it's voice acted. It's Kid's voice counting.
I feel like
is it really?
there's...
I thought it was
Yeah.
Mayo.
It's never resolved, though. Like, they really don't give any information. Like, I think they might even say, like, at the end, they're like, "Well, I guess we'll never know who counted down." And it's like, all right, fine.
Well, I feel like... Yeah, and like...
Some shitty writing, too, and they're like, I guess we'll never know till the next episode.
What do you
But,
think at home?
There's like... I guess there's like some way that both loops are like kind of coming close to each other. You could... Like, the way like... Takeshi sees Coco at the bottom of the infirmary and hears him talking to Kid in the other loop. Hears her talking to Kid in the other loop. And then, like, here they hear somebody else in the other loop's game of Kick the Can and things like, you know.
This is when we loop back to... Not loop back. When we get back to the point of the fourth dimension... We're technically, if time is the fourth dimension, you're in the same physical space, so you're reconnecting with the same physical... Like, you're gonna keep tapping against each other.
Right.
I mean, using the game's logic, we had in the last game, you went off on that big spiel about, 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions, 4 dimensions. that picture, which looked like just a bunch of squares superimposed on each other, at certain points they're going to cross. And I think at certain points in the story, it's just this is the lines crossing.
Right.
And I do wonder if the lines crossing is even going to end up being the purpose of this or a side effect of it. Like, you know, if this is like, oh, this is Lemmy and Sora trying to redo the same scenario over and over again for some reason, and then like the fourth dimensional stuff is just a side effect of them redoing the same extremely traumatic event in the same physical location over and over again, and it does, but that's not the purpose of it. Like, the psychic trauma is not the purpose of it. But it would be interesting to see if it, because it super is or it's not, right? Like, either like they have to induce like the psychic trauma that like the emotional trauma that everyone goes through is like somehow important to this, or it's completely not, and like the purpose is to get everybody out and it doesn't matter. Because there's always like the emotional trauma could be what is connecting them across time.
Yeah,
it's really hard to talk about this and not say any spoilers for anything else
and
that
then,
exists.
Yeah, and
right,
that closed out day 2 of Takeshi.
Yeah, it did.
So, yeah.
So I guess the next question is, how much farther do we want to go?
Based on what we just did, we could finish Takeshi, because like that first, like the intro plus first 2 days was pretty long. I think the next few will be pretty fast.
Yeah, we might want to go a little bit shorter just because we're going to hit more material at this point. Like, because we're officially divulged. Like, the thing is, day 1 was mostly repeats, up for like half of it.
That's true.
We'll probably want to do less, especially because when we get more information, we're probably going to delve way deeper into theory crafting if the last 5 episodes have been anything to go by. So I think if we try and do all of it, we're going to end up with a 6-hour podcast, and I will die.
Yeah, true.
It's fun to make the theories and then get a couple days later and figure out, oh no, that theory doesn't work at all.
So we do 3 and 4.
I'm wondering if we should do 3 and 4 or 3, 4. So I felt like, because I did the rest of Takeshi's route, in the Let's Play, honestly. I feel like the ending is actually what takes pretty long. So we could do 3 and 4 or 3, 4, 5.
Well, 3
actually,
4,
it doesn't really matter.
Fast, right?
3 and I think 5 is pretty fast, yeah, so it doesn't matter either way.
So do 5 plus a giant discussion of the ending.
Yeah, so 3 and 4 for next time, and then the ending after, and then we'll finish it out, the session after it.
Yeah.
We have to finish this in 17 sessions. That's just the way this has to go.
Right, of course.
Right. There is good news, by the way, too, because we talked about this too, or the podcast before, I think, where we, like, getting the other endings is actually really easy. It just, like, as long as you know the path you have to take, obviously, but, like, that way you don't have to, like, even if you start over and you do the skip thing, it'll fly through the text until the choice comes in, so it's at least not so bad, and you don't have to play with save games or anything, I don't think, but...
And after this run, we'll have seen both routes, and so we'll be able to look at your spreadsheet, right, and be like, this is what we need to do to get the other ending.
If you want to see it now, I don't think at this point it doesn't reveal anything. It's a very dense flowchart. If you take a look at it, you'll probably at least get some understanding as to why I had so much trouble, like, doing this. Oh, I see it. Sorry. But, like, at any rate, we can talk about that later. But yeah, for next time, let's go with days 3 and 4. Okay.
Did they make this in the same one you use when you're have a computer science degree? Because that's what it looks like, and that's really funny.
It is, yeah. But then
yeah,
the variables getting set, all the red stuff is where this gets really.
I feel like we're gonna program a circuit board.
What? Yeah.
It's been too long.
What's that game? The Space Chem?
Space Chem, yeah.
Yeah, this is what that looks like. Jesus Christ. I did not enjoy Space Chem at all. I'm not going to look at this.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. And I'll talk to you later. Talk to you later. All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye, folks.
Bye-bye.